Hello, it's Robert Nelson here with the Rocco Technologies, the only American manufacturer of medical massage chairs on the planet, of any kind of massage chairs. But I have the honor to be in a room with my associate, Michael Fiducci. Am I pronouncing it, Mike? I messed your name up
No
already.
worries. Vertucci. No worries.
Vertucci. Michael Vertucci is with Lexipol, and the reason why we're having this discussion is because we're endeavoring to familiarize various law enforcement agencies, whether you're in a fraternal order of police or you're an extended law enforcement agency that has an interest in the wellness solution of these Laraco medical massage chairs. Laraco has sponsored this service for you so that you can have access to expert assistance in the process of identifying grant opportunities and constructing a grant requests so that you can maximize your opportunity to actually get funded for your wellness solution. With that said, Michael, what I want you to do is kind of give us a little backstory about Lexipol, what you guys are and how you do, because I think it's an amazing service that you guys provide.
Yeah, and we're really excited, Robert, about the partnership, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. And really, Lexipol as a whole is in the public safety space, providing policies and online trainings to first responders. Now, we also have a media and grants division here at Lexipol, and that's the part of our division that will help your agencies and your departments find grant funding for your chairs. Lexipol Grants team has been successful in over $600 million in funding for first responders through our grant assistance program that you're now sponsoring.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that because part of what I want you to give a kind of a scope of, because I just got off a Zoom call. We actually did a podcast. The president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Patrick Yotes, and myself, he has begun the process of allowing vendors to share some information that can serve and benefit those first responders that we are servicing. And one of the things that comes into focus is many people have no clue about the scope of magnitude of opportunity. So I'm glad you mentioned the kind of dollars that you guys have actually had and the number of organizations that you guys serve. You guys serve over 8,000 different organizations. Am I correct?
You are correct in that. And over 1,200 organizations reach out to us to come into the grant assistance program every year.
Mm-hmm. So in the process of you helping with grants, I know that when I was on a call with you before, you and Susan as well, you mentioned about that there are different pockets of money that are available. Can you kind of go into what kind of opportunities are available so that you can kind of give our audience an idea of what their reach could possibly be?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of departments are very familiar with the federal pocket of funding or even state pockets of funding. But here at Lexipol, we also help them discover those private foundational and corporate pockets of funding that are in their own communities, businesses in their communities that will fund your equipment to help out the first responders that are serving their businesses. And so we help them understand how to reach out to these private foundations and private corporate community foundations to get funding to get these chairs in their facilities. Not only federal funding and state funding, but also that private foundational funding. There are the three main areas that we look at for funding.
You know, some time ago, I actually worked with a nonprofit organization. We were operating under Barack Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative. And in the process of doing that, I had the opportunity to interact with the Funding Assistance Center. Now, there was a couple of pieces. The one was, it used to be back in the day that there was a Funding Assistance Center in every city. A couple of years ago, I believe it is Cision, what's no, there is a company that bought out all of the funding assistance centers, and now they have an online presence that actually shows grant opportunities and different resources for all different kind of categories of service. But I say that because it gave me an opportunity to familiarize myself with one, what is the criteria for applying for a grant? Because different grant providers have specific criteria for which they will award money. Two, they have cycles wherein they award it in many instances. And three, there's usually a specific format or structure to how you go about presenting your proposition or your request that will be received. Can you touch on those aspects for a second with me?
Yeah, I definitely can. I think you nailed them pretty well that there are these areas that can be very complex when it comes to finding grant funding. The nice thing about our partnership now is we can walk your agencies through this complex process. Our partnership allows our grant experts who come from public safety to get on a phone call with your agencies and your customers and help them navigate this funding, help them learn how to get to these these pockets of funding that exist in their communities and at the state and federal level. And then not only finding the funding, but actually writing that application. As you mentioned, it can be complex, and we help them through that application, guiding them on how to fill it out. All of our experts are senior grant writers, as well as come from the public safety space. So they understand the need for equipment like you provide, and they're able to relate with these departments and your customers on phone calls. And then after that, we're able to help them with Grant Finder. So Grant Finder, again, part of our partnership, will show them these pockets of funding very easily through our database.
Now, in a moment, I'm gonna have you go to the Grand Finder to kind of show our audience, but I wanted to touch on something that I heard Susan say, that the guys at Lexipol are veterans in the space of serving first responders, because there are a lot of other companies that are realizing the importance and the value of this market, but you guys have been doing it for how long?
Over 25 years, Lexipol has been in the public safety space.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's what I mean by veteran. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now, and I'm a simple guy, so I I kind of developed the rapport with some of the grant awarders in my space when I was writing grants, and I would kind of actually develop enough comfort where I would say, well, tell me what you want me to tell you. Tell me what do I need to tell you for you to give me this money to do what I need to get done. And eventually
Yeah.
I started to find out there were several templated kind of formats for, okay, this is how you
Mm-hmm.
structure this. This is what you want to position at the first, second, third equation.
Yeah.
Is there some framework like that that our people can utilize in terms of going after these pockets of money that you talked about, Michael?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that they can really focus on, the biggest tip I could give them is to focus on the problem. Your device is solving a very real problem that we see in police departments today. And that is what we want to hone in on. So, finding a way for these departments to tell their story. I know some departments are very private with the information on what officers are going through. They don't want to share it out there. So finding a way to give those statistics and that data to the grant maker, to the person who's controlling these purse strings, so they can hear this department story, see even numbers of how many officers may need these chairs on a day-to-day basis, and that positive impacts that these chairs have on the first responders. It's going to create more incentive for that grant maker to spend their dollar and give it an award to that department. So being able to tell their story, and then being able to put any data points or real stories behind their personal story is going to go a long way with getting that grant maker to open up that person and to award them the funding.
Okay, perfect. And I want to make it simple for you guys to navigate and find your way to access Michael and the services that we provide. You can actually go to LaRoccoChairs.com. There is a link that goes direct to the Lexipol grant submission form. You can go to FOPCareChair.com. There is a link that provides direct connection to the Lexipol grant submission form, because the objective is this. We want you to let us know that you want resources. Once you submit that link, you're actually going to get immediate access to the Grant Finder's library so that you can kind of filter through and find some things that might fit the scope of what you need to do, but you don't have to be worried about whether or not you don't understand it, because one of the Lexipol representatives, once you submit that form, is going to get on a call with you and help walk you through to identify what's going to be the best fit for your particular situation. With that said, Michael, can you elaborate on the
Yeah.
process a little bit more in terms of what are there to expect when they say, okay,
Yeah.
I want to be participant. How do I get started? What do I do? What's the expectation?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think first thing to really hit on, Robert, is because of our partnership with Morocco, these services are available to your customers at no cost. So
Right.
they are not having to pay out
Critical.
of pocket for us to help them out. So that's important to highlight here, so everybody knows that we provide our services because of our partnership. And then I did want to talk about where they get started. You mentioned the website, and that is the number one place to get started. If I could show kind of what that looks
Please,
like
go right
here.
ahead. I believe you have the ability to share your screen.
Yeah, let me share what that looks like here so you are able to see kind of what this will look like for your customer. And so if I am coming in to look for grants for your solutions, I will have now access to this database.
Mhm.
If you're able to see my screen now, it is called Grant Finder. Grant Finder is going to show that police department all the grants that we are tracking out here. These are programs that they can apply to get your solutions. Now, of course, where to get started? How do I get access to this database? This is great information to have. Well, it's going to be through the form that you just mentioned, either on the Luraco website and or on policegrantshelp.com, where you can fill out this form and your department will then have access to this database. Now, as you just mentioned, Robert, a real person from Lexipol's grants team is going to contact these departments to help them interpretate this information and understand what to do here. How do I take this information and get funding? Well, we provide that through our grant assistance. I think this slide here really does help cover, if it's still showing my screen, it does help cover our program. And really what is going to happen is first, you're going to get access to that database of grants. You're going to see grants for your department. Then we're going to offer coaching and grant application help. Again, this is all at no cost to your department. We're going to reach out to your department with a phone call and introduce ourselves, help you walk through Grant Finder, and then help you through that coaching call to select a grant program. We really encourage you to take that phone call with the Lexipol Grants Customer Success
Michael,
Manager.
can I ask you to go ahead and make that big screen? Because right now in the PowerPoint, go ahead and make it like a slideshow so they can see that more clearly. That slide, because it's critical information on the slide. Also, I want to go back and reemphasize that we don't have the form on our site, on the Luraco site or FOP Care Trace. We only have the link to the form because we want to keep all this information in one centralized location so that we can make sure that nothing is falling through the cracks in this equation. So Lexipol is on top of it in terms of making sure that when somebody responds, they get immediate feedback. Somebody will reach out to them immediately so that we let you know that we're here to help you navigate through this process. But go right ahead, Michael.
I think you're exactly right. The form is located on our site, but you can find the link on your site. I think the big thing to really highlight, you fill that out, you're in the program. Somebody is going to contact you to explain Grant Finder. You're going to have access to Grant Finder. Grant Finder is going to be sending you alerts on grants for your wellness chairs. We can also provide that coaching and grant application help, where we're going to call and walk your agency through the entire grant writing process, helping you select a grant. And then we provide ongoing support. We are a partner with you through this project until you get funding for your Luraco chair. So engage with that customer success manager that's going to be reaching out to you, because they're the one who's going to help drive your project forward.
Okay. Also, I'd like to say this: was there another slide that you needed to share, Michael, or did we through?
I think this was the biggest one. The other thing I will add is if there is any assistance needed with grant writing, we can assist. It is our only fee-based service where we will write a grant for you. I will encourage most departments, almost all departments, to utilize the coaching grant application help and to write it on your own, because it's a good skill to have in the future when you are working on grants. And our team will review your written application at no cost, Robert. So any department that is working on an application, our grant writers who are very good at this will look over their work and provide them feedback before they submit at no cost.
All right. Can you stop sharing that screen now? Because I want to touch on something you just touched on. And I really appreciate you going back and reemphasizing that Luraco is taking care of. It's not at no cost. It's just not at your cost. We paying for this. We're trying to make sure you get access to what you need. But also, I want to paint a bigger picture for you for a second, because what has happened in our society, there are a lot more people waking up to the reality of the essential nature of wellness. It's not an optional thing. After coming out of COVID, through the pandemic, some of the health statistics have escalated to a point where it has become a worldwide epidemic, stress and the impact of stress on people's lives. And you guys being in the first responder position, you on the front line seeing the implications of that and feeling the trauma and the impact of that experience. So what has happened in society, more and more people are shifting policy as it relates to, okay, what do we want to invest in that's going to give us the best return on our investment? And what has happened is that in America alone, over $300 billion each year is spent by American businesses because of stress, because of people that are absenteeism, because of medical claims, because of insurance claims, because of liability suits. But the point is that as more and more people are becoming familiar with the devastating effects of that and the value of making an investment in somebody's well-being, that's whether they're a first responder or an employee, then they start seeing a greater return on their investment in terms of the sharpness of that staff, in terms of the durability of the staff, lack of burnout, lack of attrition of them moving on to other careers. So the idea is more and more people are going to put money to the side for this as time goes on. But I want you to know that that's not the only option, because even though it may not be budgeted now, it may be budgeted in the future. But I have seen other law enforcement agencies use various creative methods, such as crowdfunding, to pool the resources needed to implement their wellness solution. In fact, I make reference to the Garland Police Department, and they launched a wellness and recovery room on the anniversary of one of the officers that committed suicide because they understood the impact and the implication of their stress upon their lives. But in this process, once they launched that room, it was over a $75,000 project. It wasn't just a chair, it was a space where they can go to decompress and recover. But in that space, they had other modalities as well. Yet, what was amazing is the fact that the community came out at large and actually provide their financial and support in terms of equipment, right? The people who were part of this 400-man workforce of the police department there in Garland, they pooled their resources together to cover part of their costs. Also, they received grant money. We actually did a matching grant in that space. So what I want you to get your mind around is not whether or not it's something that we can do in terms of addressing our people's wellness. That's not optional. The question is, how do we go about doing it? What's going to be the best fit? So what I encourage you to do is that as you go through this process, you get on a call with me, schedule some time with me or one of our grant assistance people. But what I'll do is conduct an initial assessment. We want to get a better understanding about what the nature of your project is. Are you just looking for a chair to stick in a break room? Or are you trying to create a space where your people can go and recline and recover? I just got off a call with one agency, and this is North Texas 911 Center, and they're actually looking at doing a couple of chairs for a space that they have because they have over 70 people in that facility who really need to have the opportunity to recuperate and recover, to use those tools. So the question is not whether or not this can be done. The question is, how do we want to go about doing it? So we ask you to reach out to us. You'll have our information in the context of either this video or in information that we may send by email, but you'll know how to get in touch with myself and Lexipol so that we can walk through the process of identifying what your need is and what do we need to bring to the table to help you to effectively meet that need. Because stress is real. And wellness is not an option. It's a necessity. We need you on the front lines. Michael, you have some other information that you want to share with the audience because I want to make sure they get a full scope of what this opportunity represents and what they should expect in going into it and look at coming out from it with.
Yeah, and Robert, I think you nailed it there, and that's kind of what I wanted to reiterate is our team of over 45 technical grant writers and consultants. They want to get on a call with these customers, these departments, to help them tell that story that you were just mentioning, because that is what's going to tap into that community funding. Those businesses want to support first responders in their community. They don't want to operate their business where they don't have healthy, well-beings first responders with healthy mindsets in their area. And so the one you gave an example of the very sad event, those are stories that need to be told to get these businesses and private corporations to start helping out. And that's what we're seeing, because you're right, it is no longer an option. And we're seeing a lot of private money stepping up and helping. But that being said, there are grants at the federal level that fund those holistic approaches, like you were just mentioning, a whole center dedicated to wellness where the chairs are included, but other things are in that center as well, as that safe space for them to go and decompress. There are federal grants like the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act that are out there as resources to help out those larger departments that are looking to fund larger dollar amounts and putting multiple chairs into their facilities. Now, again, our team is here and ready to help. At any time throughout our process, we can get on a phone call and get one of these technical experts on with you. I encourage you to work with the customer success manager from Lexipol that will be reaching out to help you move the project forward.
Now, I want you to go back and touch on that was a actually recent legislation. I don't remember exactly when, but the Law Enforcement Act that you mentioned, can you give us a little background on what that is and when that came into play?
Yeah, that was a new federal grant program that was implemented by the Trump administration in his first 4 years. So back in the 2016 to 2020 period, there was that program implemented. And what it allows is for departments to go through what is the COPS office and apply for the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act to implement holistic wellness programs at their department. Now, they can start a wellness program from scratch, or they can improve upon something that is already existing. Even if it's a very, I guess maybe a department would look at it as a minimal wellness program, and they wanted to build on that wellness program, they could apply for this grant. Last year, the grant was $150,000 per department that applied. So it was a substantial amount of funding, but it went to not just equipment, but a lot of different things, peer support, training, wellness applications, wellness chairs, all of that stuff to build it. You were talking about a wellness center, really a support center for departments. Now, if a department is looking to fund maybe just a single piece of equipment, like one chair, or maybe two chairs, and isn't trying to do a big wellness approach, and that's fine, and they just want to stick a couple of chairs in the break room, there are private foundational grants that are out there to do that, to fund a chair or two. But if they're looking to fund that larger project, they would want to look at the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act, which that's a lot to say at once. So we call it the LEMWA grant, is short, LEMWA.
I like that. And I'm glad that you made reference to that, because what I want to say to the audience as well is that we are here available for you, not just for this process, because you mentioned that if you want to start a project from scratch, let's back up on that for a second, because many people don't even know what it entails to start from scratch if you're going to do a complete wellness project. With that said, I want you to know that we have access to resources. In fact, Dr. Michael Open, who is actually the doctor that conducted the scientific study on our Laraco medical massage chairs, for over 30 years, he's conducted a stress relief center in Weber State University. Now, this is what he's discovered over the time that he's been implementing this solution. And they've got thousands of people that go through there on a regular basis. But what he discovered is some modalities that work better than others. Some things that people really use and it benefits them. Some things that are just, something that he tried, but he's going through trial and error. And you need to take advantage of this kind of vicarious knowledge, because this is somebody that is in the network of our relationships that has the information that can help you not reinvent the wheel, but to understand what would be the best strategy to implement an overall wellness solution, even if you want to create a more comprehensive space. The other thing I want to mention is this, that I myself am available if I need to speak to your audience, if I need to speak via Zoom, if I need to come in person, if I need to speak to some people to incline them to understand what this whole process is. I am at your disposal, because this is my job. The other thing that I've done recently, and we have done this before, but I recently shared this information with Michael, Laraco has actually provided an incentive for certain businesses in the community if they want to support the first responders. We actually have a business sponsorship package wherein businesses, if they decide that they want to contribute towards supporting the first responders, actually can get discounts on medical massage chairs for themselves and or their staffs. Not only do we give them discounts, but we give them brand recognition in the spaces where these chairs are positioned. So this is all that's designed to give people an opportunity to show how much they really appreciate your courage, your dedication, and your sacrifice by saying, okay, I want to give back to the folks that's keeping me safe, because it just makes sense. Now, are there any other questions that you have, Michael, things that you think the audience needs to be aware of as we move on to close out this session?
No, I would just say to raise a hand and engage with our team.
Raise your hand.
That's the
Let us know.
Raise a hand and let us know you need assistance, and we'll help you. Also, this partnership is something that is just starting, and I'm really excited to see some of these wins come through, and really excited to start working with all of these customers and help them get this much needed equipment in their facilities.
And let me just say this, because I want you to understand the swiftness by which this can happen. They launched this a week ago. They already got people in the pipeline who got the identified grant money that they're going after and have put together the proposal. This is with less than 7 days. And we haven't even gotten started. But the point is that it doesn't take a lot. You don't need to feel intimidated about this process. And you need to feel confident, because you have competent people who have been in this business, this space, for decades and have been doing this thing. So you're not on your own. Just like you are there for us, we are here for you. And with that said, we invite you to reach out to us. You can contact us via email. Go to our website at fopcarechair.com. You can go to laracochairs.com. You have my information, but feel free to reach out to us. And yes, put your hand up and let us know you need help, and we're coming to the rescue.